Hello and welcome to episode 39 of the Footy with Fletch podcast. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by Georgie Cleaver. Georgie was selected with the West Coast Eagles with pick 39 in the 2023 AFLW draft. Georgie is also an Australian under-19s netballer. Hello, Georgie. Thanks for joining me. How are you?
Thank you for having me on. I'm very well, thanks.
So we were sort of speaking before, you're a dual athlete, you play netball and footy. The netball season starts on Friday. How are you finding juggling the two at the moment?
Yeah, both are getting into a pretty busy season. So started off the year pretty chilled, not anything too heavy, but now with netball starting up and footy sort of ramping up with pre-season, it's getting a bit of a busier schedule, but I'm finding it fun and enjoyable and learning heaps at the moment, which is good.
And when did you first start playing football?
I started playing footy. I did Auskick down at Rossmoyne Junior Football Club. So about 7 or 8. Played with the boys and then sort of went through the ranks from there.
And were there any particular highlights in your junior days?
Probably not. I think mostly played basketball, netball back in the day. With footy was sort of just for fun and just to get the skills under my belt. But probably I won a premiership in like year 8 or something, but nothing too major.
And why did you sort of want to play football? Because your brothers also played football growing up. Is that one of the main reasons?
Yeah, so my brother played footy, and my sister did too, and I got a bit FOMO and sort of thought they looked like they were having fun and making friends, so I thought I'd just join the train and start footy too.
Were there any footballers that you sort of idolised growing up?
Probably more male footy players, like Buddy Franklin. But I think as I grew older and watched more women's footy, probably Taylor Harris. And then as Charlie Rowbottom got drafted, probably her as well. Probably idolised them because obviously big names, played similar positions to me. So, yeah, I really like them.
You mentioned that they played similar positions to you. You're sort of a key forward and a ruck.
Yeah.
What do you make of those two positions? They can be quite different at times.
Yeah, so obviously I'm quite a tall person, so I've always been chucked into the ruck. Can jump pretty high, so sort of ended up there, which is always fun. I'd love to say I'm like an extra midfielder, since I sort of got traits of an inside midfielder would have. Obviously with ruck it gets pretty wrestly in this forward, in the centre circle. So sort of play that role as best as I can, and then back on the forward line. Obviously your main goal is to kick some snags, so sort of work on structure there. But also both sort of help each other as well, which is nice.
Do you have any go-to goal celebrations after you have kicked a snag?
Nah, I'll probably just get around the teammates. Don't really do anything fancy. Just probably some fist or something. But
And you mentioned you've got traits like an inside midfielder. Do you ever sort of see yourself going into the midfield at the Eagles?
yeah, I've had a few conversations at Eagles around playing a bit of inside mid. Obviously, being a big-bodied midfielder, quite tall than the normal midfielder. But I think I've done a bit of training there at the moment, so sort of see how that goes and see if I can fit in that role as well.
And when did footy sort of become a bit more of a focus for you? Because obviously you mentioned playing netball and basketball growing up. Was it sort of in the background to start with?
Yeah, I'd say it was definitely in the background. My main sport was definitely basketball back in the day, because I thought there was obviously more pathways. There was state under 12s teams, state 15s. And then I think in under 15s I made state for basketball, netball, football. So I was sort of like, I'd probably have to pick. And I was like, I don't ever want to pick like between 3, and then netball and footy sort of having more opportunity. So basketball sort of just went away. And then I'm always a bit of an overachiever. I would never want to do something and not get to the highest level. So I always thought like my main goal is to get drafted. Like that's the highest level I want to get there. And I sort of put my mind to it, and then, worked really hard for that.
And with netball as well, before we do get into more of your footy related interests and stuff, You won gold with Australia in the Commonwealth Youth Games. That's a huge achievement. What was that like for you?
Yeah, definitely amazing to make that team. Sort of a big goal. We got told about a year before. Then we had nationals and then got selected into the squad for that. And I was always at the training camps, training really hard, really wanting to make that team because obviously going to a different country in Trinidad and Tobago was just like an experience everyone wants to have playing their favourite sport. So then yeah, winning gold was just like didn't even think that would even be possible. But when we got there, sort of everyone was there for the same reasons, and just took every day and just came out with a win, which is just an amazing experience. Yeah.
And you nominated for the Western Australian portion of the AFLW draft last year. What was the reasoning behind that?
Well, I had a couple interviews with some clubs, and then Eagles and Dockers said they wanted me to nominate to stay in WA as they said they would probably pick me up. Which is I was very fortunate that they were able to tell me that and allow me to nominate here as I could continue to play netball as well. I sort of was like wanted to stay home so I could play netball. Because it's quite hard to get into netball in other states. So I thought may as well stay here if I'm getting the opportunities and then just keep on doing both. And then hopefully we're sort of relying on both of the clubs to pick me up.
And you've also played Waffle W football with East Fremantle since 2022, playing over 20 games and kicking 13 goals. What was it like to play with East Fremantle?
Yeah, obviously my brother played for East Fremantle and so did my sister back in the day. So he grew up playing Colts, youthies there, Rogers Cup, and then straight to league a couple years later. So I was sort of felt like home. The girls you'd always been around. The girls knew most of them. It was just a big family, and I loved spending time with them, training with them, and then obviously winning premiership last year was just an amazing reward for all the hard work.
And you mentioned winning the premiership last year. East Fremantle won by 12 points. What was that game like for you? Probably a highlight, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was an amazing game. With the year before that losing the grand final after being undefeated, I actually got dropped for the grand final. So that was last year was sort of my comeback year, sort of prove then why I shouldn't have got dropped. And then Claremont being undefeated and then managing to beat them in the grand final was just an amazing achievement for everyone on the team.
And you mentioned getting dropped in the grand final the year before. How challenging was that to deal with?
Yeah, that was definitely probably my biggest challenge yet. I think you play a whole season with the side undefeated and then getting dropped for the grand final was just like something you don't really hear of. Got dropped because I was too tall as well. So I was like, can't really change that. But then I played the Rogers Cup and we won that grand final. So it's sort of bit of like a comeback, like play, like don't let it overcome you and instead, play as well as you can in the opportunity you get. And then, which was fine because we won that one anyway and I had a pretty good game. So.
And last year you were a member of the AFLW Academy. What was that like for you?
Yeah, so I was actually also in that for 2 years. The year before as well as a bottom ager. So being a bottom ager was just so good. Watching all the girls get drafted, knowing that I could do that the following year if I put my heart to it. And then the following year, being in that team again, just sort of being a leader. Obviously being in the program before, meeting all the girls, just learning about their journeys. Was just love that team, love that group of girls. Yeah.
Are there any girls from that group that you're really looking forward to playing against later this year?
Yeah, we were all very close. And then even at the AFLW induction, we sort of had a bit of a catch up, which was so sick. Probably main one would be Lila Keck. Went to Carlton, pick 5, I think, or 7. We were very close. And then also Lauren Young as well. Can't wait to verse them. Would just be because that team's couple girls at Port Adelaide like Sinead Goody as well. So that'll be sick to play against them.
And you mentioned the AFL Players induction. What was that like? It was held in January this year, I think.
Yeah, it was. So I think that was with AFLW and AFL, the boys. So that was awesome to see all the players come again, like after everyone who got drafted, sort of congratulate them, as I didn't get invited to the draft night. And then yeah, we had a great chats with some of the mentors, and seeing all the PDMs and stuff. So yeah, I think it was just a knowledgeable experience. Yeah, so grateful that we were able to get invited to that in real life.
And you mentioned you weren't invited to draft night. How did your draft night look then?
Yeah, so wasn't invited, and then I got told that I should have been invited a couple of days after. But I had just had like my family and then some cousins and close friends over, which was really nice to, obviously hoping that you do get drafted when you invite people over. And then got called out at 39, and everyone sort of got all hyped, and then we had some food after, and then Eagles captain came over, Swanee, and some media, which was pretty sick to see.
And obviously Daisy Pearce will be the West Coast Eagles AFLW coach. Such a pioneer of women's football. How exciting is it to be able to work alongside Daisy and to be coached by such a champion?
Yeah, it's honestly something everyone dreams of. Watching her growing up, playing, obviously being a player herself, and a woman as well, is just like such a good role model to have coaching us, as she's been in our shoes and she's experienced what we're all experiencing. So yeah, just so fortunate, so grateful that she's our coach this year.
And looking ahead to the upcoming season, what are you looking forward to, I guess, and how excited are you?
Yeah, obviously so excited. You sort of wait for this day to come and wait for pre-season to start up. But I think this year sort of just seeing what I can do, see what I'm out at the next level, and then learning off older girls who have so much experience, and then just trying to find my ground and find my role in the team and see how that goes.
So do you sort of have any goals this year for football dreams and ambitions? Obviously getting drafted, not drafted, making your debut would probably be one.
Yeah, definitely making my debut is top of the list. Like hopefully round one, if not earlier, if not around that time. And then just trying to find my position in that team and playing continuous and good football throughout the whole year.
Now it's sort of the pre-season for the AFLW because the official pre-season doesn't start until June. What has sort of the off-season been like heading into your first season?
Or for me, I didn't really have much of an off season due to netball. Probably just before the draft was a bit of a break, and then maybe a little bit after because training sort of started up straight away. And this part has just been like so many learning opportunities, working on all the little things that I need to work on, and then trying to balance both and see what this year sort of looks like.
You've mentioned a couple of things that you need to work on. I listened to a previous interview. You mentioned your kicking. Can you talk me through a little bit about what sort of aspects of your kicking you want to focus on?
Yeah, so I've been working on it for about 2 years, never really knuckled down hard enough and focused on it as much as I should have. But now at Eagles, got some really good kicking coaches and coaches that will really have one-on-one sessions, or even like 3 coaches and me working on what my key aspects of the kicking are. So mostly bowl drop, and sort of getting my hands, because obviously I'm a right-handed and I'm a left footer, so my left hand's pretty weak. So I'm just trying to get that stronger so I can get the ball and then sort of do more of a one-hand ball drop instead of a 2.
And this year as well, are there some West Coast Eagles AFLW players that you're looking forward to playing alongside?
Yeah, so I've played with a couple of them in state, like Ella Roberts, Emily Elkington, Abby Bushby, and then sort of some of the older girls like Bella Lewis, Charlie Thomas, who have had heaps of experience. Obviously made like all Australian teams, so that would be sick to sort of learn from them and see what tools I can get from them as well.
And you were drafted to the Eagles alongside Jess Wrench, Kaylee Kavanagh, and Matilda Sargent. What was it like to be drafted to the club alongside these girls?
Yeah, definitely with Kaylee and Wrenchy. being young girls, same age as me, I think we can all sort of help each other and build on this year. And they're moving from over east, so sort of getting them comfortable as well. And then like Matilda, being older, played for Dockers before, got a lot of experience. So sort of help like guiding them and being mentors as well as learning from them, which should be a fun year with them too.
And you were also actually coached by Daisy Pearce last year in the AFLW Academy. What did you sort of learn from Daisy being coached by her then?
Obviously, I've had lots of coaches, so it's hard to really pinpoint an exact thing that she's taught me. But back in the day, I think sort of probably fangirled her more than listened to her. But she was definitely, had so much knowledge. I think she was our forward line coach, so sort of gave me tactics and sort of showed me what I needed to work on, and then told me that go out there, have fun, don't stress too much. It's just like, it's not my draft year. It was sort of just more getting out there, getting my name out there, which was really good.
How did you find your draft year sort of dealing with netball, footy, and then year 12 as well?
Yeah, definitely a pretty stressful year having to do ATAR as well in year 12. I think if I do it again, I'd probably cut down on the amount of school I did stress about, because I missed 2 months because of Commonwealth Games team as well. So that sort of set back my ATAR and my studies. But I think I handled it pretty well. Obviously, being my draft year, I did put a lot of pressure on my footy and then sort of put netball to the background. But then again, I definitely balanced it well and put everything I could out there that year.
Do you have any plans to do any further study or go to university or anything like that?
I was planning on going to uni this year, maybe doing part-time radiography, but sort of seeing everything and seeing how it's panned out, I've deferred my application just to focus on sport this year. And then I've got a job as a orderly at the hospital, so bringing in that good money and then just sort of having a bit of a chill year, not really, but just to see how I go with all the work, and then might start some studies. I don't know what sort of major I do, but I'll see what happens, I guess.
And netball as well, and sort of playing netball and football. Do you think one day you might have to make a choice between the two?
Yeah, I've always thought that, but now seeing like at the elite level that I can sort of balance both, only being not being in a SSN fever side yet, but I think I love both, and it's just be so hard to pick one or the other until footy does become full time, which it could in the next few years. Then I'd have to probably make a decision. But I've always wanted to. With footy, like, you sort of get drafted and you debut and you play, and then that's sort of it. But with netball, I think there's so many more opportunities down the line, like Olympics or Commonwealth Games or international teams that you can play against. So, but I always know that, like, obviously I love footy and I'd always stick by that as well. If I can do both, I'd definitely do both.
And do you have any pre-game rituals or routines before a footy game?
Not too many. Probably I like to have a peanut butter and jam sandwich just before my game, but I like to be on music as well. So always on the tunes. And then just having a laugh. Like, I don't like, especially in warm up, I don't want to like get inside my head too much. So sort of cracking jokes, having a bit of banter with the other players, and just sort of relaxing myself. So hit the line, I'm all ready to go.
Do you have a go-to pump-up tune?
Probably anything by Dom Dollar, so Rhyme Dust or Saving Up would probably be my go-tos.
Well, Saving Up, it's a great song. There's a lot of great music out there at the moment. Are there any players that you've sort of modelled your game on throughout juniors and last year, etc.?
I've never really modelled. I wouldn't say modelled my game off, but I've sort of idolised them. Probably Taylor Harris was my main one. Obviously, also being a dual sport athlete doing boxing, I sort of thought her more off field, like, characteristics were probably idolized those more than on field because I sort of thought like to be the best player, you sort of want to be yourself and do things as best you can. Obviously, watching footy and seeing what others do as well helps, but I would never, I'd match my game off how someone else plays because I want to be my own player and do things my own way.
And just finally, do you have anything that not many people know about you? Any hidden talents or anything like that?
My only hidden talent would probably be I know most songs in the world. Like I've been in cars with people and people are like, oh, you probably won't know this song, and I know every song. Like I don't know anyone who knows as many songs as I do, any genre, any artist. That's probably my main secret talent.
Well, it is definitely a quirky talent, but thank you so much, Georgie, for joining me on the podcast, and all the best of luck with the upcoming season. I can't wait to see your career unfold, so thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on. Been a good chat. Thanks.